Hey guys, welcome to Breakfast and Chit Chat with Miss Fadzo. My name is Fadzo, and welcome to my podcast. Okay, so just a little bit of information about what this podcast is. It's a Christian empowerment, women empowerment, entrepreneurship, young entrepreneurship, international student, all of that and much more. It's basically my chronicles of what life is like being a Christian woman, what it's like being a Zimbabwean in Canada. I'm a student at one of the universities here in Canada. But it's just a version of my life. I think there are a lot of things that I've learned and a lot of things that I can probably share knowledge on. A lot of my friends come up to me for advice and stuff. So I thought I might as well just make a podcast and maybe it can help a couple of people on the way. Okay, having said that, let's get right into it. Okay, so today's topic, I am basically going to be talking about a couple of things I've learned being 21. Because listen, nobody told me that the jump from 20 to 21 was going to be like the way it was. Listen, they lie. I was honestly, to be honest, let me be 100% honest. I thought it was gonna be a super easy jump. I was just gonna be like every other birthday. I was just gonna have a birthday party, obviously, like have maybe some cake, and then you just kind of go about your life like always. I mean, the thing is with me, on my birthday every year, I make sure I have like a New Year's resolution kind of thing. But this year, honestly, I think that's probably the first thing I've learned this year. The first thing I have learned is that you need to set realistic goals. I went into 21 with this idea of like, I'm invincible. I am going to just freaking create amazingness. And I know that's not even a word, but like, that's literally the mindset I had. I went out being like, I'm going to save the world. I'm going to join so many organizations. I'm going to change so many lives. I'm going to volunteer here and I'm going to volunteer there. And I'm going to have a business. And literally, I was doing the damn most. But I don't think I fully conceptualized how much I could actually handle doing. And as a result, when I got halfway through the year and I hadn't achieved what I thought I was going to achieve, I literally gave up. So around January, February part of the year, I literally just couldn't be bothered. And bear in mind, my birthday's in July, so that's when my new year starts. But I honestly just couldn't be bothered. I remember opening my planner and looking at all the resolutions I still had to achieve, and I was just like, I honestly can't be bothered. Like, you know when you reach that time of the year when you're just like, nah, be like, it's a no for me? I was literally at that point. But I think it's because I set too many goals and I didn't realize that if you set too many goals, you're overstretching yourself. There's no point of doing 10% of like 5 different things and not doing like any of the things 100%. You know what I mean? You might as well focus on one or two things and like do 100% of that one thing or 100% of those two things, then overstretch yourself and not end up achieving anything. So that's for sure one thing I've learned this year, that I need to set like actual smart attainable goals. And I think to piggyback on that, my second lesson that I learned this year is that you work hard to get to where you need to be. And I know that sounds like a given, but I feel like a lot of the times I've gotten away with getting a free ride because I'm very out there. I'm one of those people who volunteers for everything. I'm that annoying person in class who puts their hand up and asks questions. When the teacher says, do you have any questions? I actually ask questions. But I've always had a free ride. And I think this year I had to step out of my comfort zone in a way that I wasn't really used to stepping out of it at. And as a result, I think I kind of slacked. I'm so used to having things handed to me. Honestly, like, I think that's something I learned about myself. I didn't realize it until this year that I genuinely have a problem where it's almost like an entitlement thing where like I feel like I'm entitled to get this, but that's not how it works. So as a result, I feel like there were a lot of things I'd set out to do, but when they didn't go the way I'd planned them or the way I'd expected them to, and even when I pitched business ideas to people, they didn't accept them the way that I expected them to. The jerk reaction for me was literally to just give up because that had never happened to me before. And I think the third thing I learned this year is that it's okay to ask for help. I'm one of those people who is super, super, super like into like the whole I got this. Yes, I'm a strong, independent black woman. Yes, darling. Like I'm definitely one of those people who believes I've got this. Like even when I'm struggling, I will tell myself I got this. You will ask me if I need anything, and honestly, I'd rather lie before I ask for help from anybody. But after struggling with depression for what was probably a little longer than I'd like to admit, I realized that it's important to ask for help, even when you feel like it might be a burden to other people, in the sense that sometimes even just acknowledging that there is a problem makes things better than not acknowledging that there is one altogether. I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like that went a little too deep too quickly, but I think it's something that I'll tackle on a future podcast. But for sure, I learned that it's okay to ask help. It's not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of like giving up. If anything, I think it's a sign of strength, just acknowledging that there is a problem there and it's something that needs to be fixed. Okay, so the fourth thing I learned being 21 is that sometimes, actually, no, not sometimes, you need to be clear on what exactly you want to do in whatever aspect of your life. I'll give an example of what exactly I'm talking about. I'm in university right now, and when I got into university, I came in studying psychology and sociology. So for the first 2 years of my university career, I was studying psychology and sociology. Everything was fine, everything was dandy, my grades were good, all the 9 yards. But I always knew that psychology and sociology weren't really subjects I was planning on taking in the future. And that's something I've always known. Even when people ask me, like, why are you taking psychology? Why are you taking sociology? I always told them it was because I was going to do politics. And with psychology, I would understand the people's, the way they function from a psychological point of view. And if I took sociology, I would better understand how societies are formed and how laws affect different societies from a micro level to a macro level. Like all of that would be covered under psychology and sociology. So in my head, I was like, if I'm going to be a politician in the future, if I do psychology and sociology, I'm good. But that's not what I'm passionate about. I love politics. I am in love. I love politics so much. It gives me joy because I feel like I get to make laws that change people's lives in a positive way. And I know it's a little simplified in that sense, but there's a lot about politics that I love. But I don't see myself doing politics straight out of university. What I see myself doing is more business based. I love business so much. It's something that just comes naturally to me. But I've never thought of actually doing business as a course and learning more about it in a classroom setup. And now I'm going into third year, and lo and behold, my bougie ass decided to change her major. So now I'm doing psychology and sociology, which is good because I guess it's not like I woke up in fourth year and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't like what I'm doing. No, it's not that deep. But it sucks that like it took me this long to figure out what I wanted to do and actually sit down and acknowledge that I do love business and that's something I would be interested in doing. And it took me so long to realize that. And now I'm sitting here and I'm just like, I wasted 2 years, basically, doing something I don't really like, but I was paying for it, which sucks. So if there's anything I can tell you today that you need to learn, if you're in university or you're in school, you're in high school, whatever it is, yes, people will tell you, don't worry about it, you'll figure it out. Absolutely. But if you can figure it out sooner, honey, you don't need to waste all that coin. Listen, if you need to take a year break after high school, take that year break. You will thank yourself. The number of people I've spoken to who took like a year break before going into university, like all the people, I think majority of the people I've spoken to, all the people I've spoken to have told me that's the best decision they ever made because it allowed them to reflect and actually come into uni with something that they liked. Do you know what I mean? And the thing is, university isn't for everyone. You know, some people, college is for you. And there's nothing wrong. It's not something to be like ashamed of. It's not everyone's cup of tea to go into university. And I wish that's something I'd known before because there's so many people who do internships and they get to where they need to be. And that works for them. Do you know what I mean? So figure out what it is that you love. Figure out what it is that you want to do in the future. And just do it. Like, don't waste time. Okay? Anyway, so the next thing I've learned being 21, that is you need to stand your ground. I think if anything this year has taught me that a no is a no. And I mean a no is a no whether you're in a friendship or you're in a relationship or you're in a business partnership or whatever it is. A no is a no and people should respect that a no is a no. I remember, okay, I'll give an example. I have a friend of mine who called me up a couple of weeks ago and she was talking about how she didn't know whether she had just gotten raped or she hadn't. And I was like, I don't understand how that makes sense. And she looked at me and we were FaceTiming and she looked at me and she's like, honestly, I don't know if it was a rape. And I was like, okay, can you explain to me what happened? And she starts explaining and literally, for me, it sounds like a rape situation. But for her, she wasn't sure because she kept saying, I said no, but literally and it got me thinking. And I think I sat down with a group of my friends and we all realized that at some point, at least one of us had like a weird rape situation where we didn't know whether it was rape or it wasn't, which sucks because I feel like a no is a no. And if someone can't understand that, especially I think if you're young and you're dating someone, sometimes there's this whole thing of like, oh, I'm dating you, so I can't rape you. No. Or I'm married to you, so I can't rape you. No. That can absolutely happen. And if it does, report it as soon as it happens. Like, you're better off being safe than sorry. Do you know what I mean? So if anything, I want you to leave with out of this podcast, a no is a no. You don't have to do anything that you don't feel like you need to do. I will stress this so much because even from personal experience, I know it's so hard sometimes to say no and feel like you're being heard. But if you say no and the person can't respect you enough to stop whatever it is that they're doing, you need to leave. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, now. You need to leave. Whatever that situation is, you need to leave. I feel like that went really deep, really, really quickly. But I guess to kind of just sum it up, if you want more kind of things I've learned this year, you can visit my blog I'm going to link it in the description bar. I'm just going to do a blog post about that, about the things I've learned. There's a lot of stuff I've definitely learned this year. I feel like I've grown so much within a year, and I've grown not because I want to, but because I had to, which sucks, but I'm grateful that I went through the things that I did go through, because they've definitely made me a stronger person than I was before. On that wonderful note, I just want to thank you for listening to this podcast, and I really hope you did learn something from it. I'll try and post at least once a week. I am available now, so I'm just testing out a couple of my new equipment. But thank you so much for staying tuned to this podcast. I hope you really have a lovely, lovely week. Stay blessed and stay amazing. Be sassy, slay mama, all of it. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Cheers.